Hi, in this session I'm going to answer the 5 most commonly asked questions when it comes to preparing and conducting your qualitative research interviews. The 5 questions are: how many questions do I include in my interview? Should I conduct my interview online or face-to-face? How do I best prepare for the interview before I go there? How do I avoid influencing my participants? And finally, what's the best way to work with transcription once it is done? So I hope that some of these will help answer some of your concerns and your questions. So let's start with the first one. How many questions do you include? I wish there was a recipe where I could tell you for this type of topic, use 5 questions, or for the general participant overview or profile, ask 3, for their beliefs and whatnot, ask 5, and for their practices, let's say, if that's how it is sectioned, for their practices, ask 7. There's no right wrong answer. You are the one who is best to decide how many questions you should have. However, you can follow some particular guidelines that are of extreme relevance. First off, think of your participants' time. It is crucial. They are doing you a favor by joining you on this interview, so you are not to tax their time. So ask the questions that really help answer your or provide you insights to answer your research question. So if you, as you are writing those questions down, if a particular question will not benefit or provide you with insights, ignore it. So in other words, as you are writing those questions, make sure that for each question you stop and think, what will I get out of this question? You can play a mock activity by thinking, if I was in my participants' shoes, what would I answer? And once you have that, will this help me in answering my big research question? If not, then remove it, because each and every question might take you on a tangent and you don't want to tax your participants' time. That's number 1. Number 2, make sure that your questions are distributed in sections that are sort of parallel to the importance or the areas that you're focusing on in your research. So let's imagine that you have a central research question that revolves around technology integration. And then the sub-questions are for your participating teachers, relate to what are their beliefs about effective teaching strategies, what are their actual practices and the benefit they perceive is happening and taking place. And the third section is what are the challenges that they see and how to overcome them. So let's consider that these are the 3. Definitely you're going to start with an opening section that relates to their profile and their demographic information. That should not take a big chunk of your interview. That should be less than 5% or 10% of the time allocated for the interview. Then you can take the time, and I always tell my students, especially those who are studying education, think of it as a lesson plan. Plan your interview as a lesson plan. You always go in preparing your lesson plan with an introduction, and then depending on the learning outcome and how extensive it is, you allocate particular time that is relevant to that. Do the same. So either split your time for the interview among the 3 main areas that you are asking, if they are equally important to you. However, if there is one area that's more important, if your real focus is on challenges, give that 50% of your interview time and whatnot. So that's the main guideline. Another guideline that you can benefit from is, in your questions, in your sections, provide or prepare some key questions that you really want to have the answers for. And then some questions that are lower on your priority list, but you will ask in case time allows. So as you are going through the interview, if you find that you're losing a lot of time and you need to move on, it's important for you to know which are the questions that you can ignore, so that you really focus on the questions that are of high priority. So in other words, preparing your interview questions, make sure that you have high priority for each section and lower priority, and you delve with that approach. This is for the first question. Second question, should I conduct my interview online or face-to-face? As with everything that goes with research, most of the time, especially with methodology, you have to make decisions based on the givens and the context you're in. If your participants are willing to sit with you face-to-face and they have the time for that, and if you have the flexibility and mobility to actually meet them in person, always, 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 a face-to-face meeting is much better than an online meeting. After all, that connection, that rapport, that relationship is much better developed when you are sitting together, having a cup of coffee. That makes it more casual, and you definitely will get more authentic insights if that's the case. So I would always recommend start with face-to-face. However, if face-to-face might be the make it or break it to get a participant to join, then definitely go for the benefits of technology. At the present time, everybody has access to online platforms. Things have changed a lot. Individuals all around the globe at the present time are familiar with being online. They are more relaxed about being online, and they are not as apprehensive as seeing their own image as they are looking at the computer and doing that interview. So if the priority or if the preference for the participant is to go online, definitely accommodate their needs, go online, and make sure, please, as always, there are a lot of ethical clearances that we need to do and complete, especially when it comes to online, because the ease of recording becomes much simpler. But then again, the good thing is that most platforms at the present time do indicate that recording is taking place. So anyway, an interviewer cannot record without taking the participants' approval. So make sure that you have that agreed upon, and if it makes them feel more at ease if there is no recording, again, meet their needs and make them feel more comfortable, because that will reflect positively on the quality of the insights that you get. Third question, how to best prepare? The biggest and best way to prepare for your interview is by conducting some pilot runs. In qualitative research, similar to in quantitative, always when we prepare a survey, we try to have a pilot run with a few numbers, with a small number of participants that we do not plan on making use of as data, but we get insights from fixing and setting up the survey. The same thing when it comes to qualitative interviews. It is you who are going to conduct the interview, and you need to be comfortable asking these questions and maneuvering your way through. So the best preparation would be to actually conduct a couple of mock interviews where you see what's happening and then listen to it. Check it yourself to see how did that go, and ask how could I have done that better. You can do the mock interview with a family member. You can do the mock interview with a colleague who is doing collecting the same project, like working for a research project themselves, and you can help each other by running 2 different mock interviews for each. So you find what works best for you, but conducting a mock interview is extremely helpful. And especially if you are conducting it online and you're going to make use of some of the online options such as transcription, which I'll talk about later on, it's very important to feel comfortable with the tools that you are using. Next comes, how do I avoid influencing my participants. Bias is always there, and picking up on body language and insights from your discussion is always possible. However, if we are really trying to make sure that the insights we receive from our participants are not biased, especially by us, it's very important to try our best to conduct the interview with some things in mind. First off, your questions should not be pushing in one direction rather than the other. We can always sense that some questions sort of insinuate a positive perspective on a particular topic. So try to be very neutral in asking your questions. Another thing, we always tend to feel that by agreeing with the participant who's talking with us, we are more welcoming, and that allows them to open up more. Don't do that when it comes to the interview per se, because anyway you'll be influencing those participants. In a regular discussion, when we are talking with our colleagues, our friends, our family members, and we are agreeing with them, it's okay, because it's a discussion and we're not trying to take insights from them to try and offer to the bigger community. But when it comes to research, we need to be to ensure less bias. So try your best not to agree or disagree. Let them give their opinion without your full insights. That's number one. Number two, don't offer your own personal story to support what they are saying so that they can give you more. All these provide the participant with indications of where you want them to go. So try your best not to do that. Make use of neutral questions. Do not agree or disagree, and do not give your own personal opinion. You can always say, that's interesting, thanks a lot. Use general encouraging statements, but not agreeing or disagreeing with them. And that's why it's very important to do some pilot runs, because it's usually not easy to do that. We are so used to the flow of discussions with our friends and colleagues. The last one is, once done, how do I best transcribe? Sometimes transcription can take place while you are conducting your interview. At the present time, there are a lot of tools that are very helpful. One way is, once you record, if that's agreed upon, you can take that and make use of applications such as Dragon Dictate, if I'm not mistaken. So there are multiple tools, and there's the simplest, as I said in my other videos, the simplest is Word doc, Microsoft Office Word doc dictation. You can use that. Now, that being said, if you want, and if you do take agreement or approval, you can even run it while you're conducting that interview rather than running it later. That's one way. But from our discussions and from talking with individuals and considering the highest level of advancement that we have, the easiest way or the best way for you to complete the transcript might be, if you are doing it online, is to make use of the transcription feature in Zoom, Teams, or whatever other online platform. If you can use that transcription feature, the good thing is it's automatically recorded, and it also tags your questions versus the answers from your participant. So it does say Rana versus X, if whoever that participant is. However, this comes with a lot of ethical considerations that need to be taken into that need to be considered. Unless you are given the approval for your participants to from your participant to transcribe as you are running that interview, you cannot do it, because transcription in those Zoom spaces or online spaces are verbatim transcriptions. And it's not always that participants don't want to be recorded because they don't like their own voice. Many times they don't want to be recorded because they would rather not be quoted verbatim. So that's for you to make use of that verbatim, any verbatim transcription, you need to get approval, ethical and consent from the participants that you are meeting with. So these are the 5 most common questions I'm asked when my students or new researchers are preparing for their qualitative interviews. I hope this is helpful, and if you have any other questions, feel free to send them